So conference this week begins a new semester for us here at the Shala. And this semester we're going to be studying the beautiful lineage and history of not just Ashtanga but also yoga. So what I'd like to do is have all of you read, and actually this is one of my, how I always tell you guys there's 10 books that you should have in your yoga library. This is one of the 10. So this is a book written by Deskachar, TKV Deskachar. It's called The Heart of Yoga, and this one has been in my library for many, many, many years. If you're not familiar with Deskachar, he is the son of Krishnamacharya. So we're going to begin this semester by studying Patanjali and the lineage going from Patanjali wrote the Yoga Sutras. We have a deity or depiction of Patanjali on our altar that we'll be talking about a little bit more next week. We have next Krishnamacharya, who was a teacher of who? Who did he teach? Why is he in our lineage? Krishnamacharya. Pattabhi Jois, he taught our teacher, Iyengar. So really, Krishnamacharya, we can say he was the teacher that brought this to the West, because both Iyengar and Deskachar and Pattabhi Jois brought yoga to the West. So it starts with him. And Pattabhi Jois, just the way we have beautiful pictures of Guruji all around our Shala. When you go to India and you would study with Pattabhi Jois, he would have huge pictures of Krishnamacharya and always spoke of him the way we do of Guruji, so lovingly and so fondly. So that's a beautiful lineage. And then, of course, we come through talking about that to my teacher in Encinitas, Tim Miller, and myself. And then that brings me to each one of you. So in Parampara, we've been passing down a torch, passing down a light, a practice, a lineage that comes to you. And that's where that's what's so important to me, that each of you know that this is something that's so beautiful about the practice that you've chosen, that you are actually a part of holding. So this week I wanted to start by interpreting the invocation that we always say at the beginning of our practice. Actually, the invocation comes from two different slokas that we've put together to start our practice with respect. So we always begin in Ashtanga with our hands in Anjali Mudra, which is really a universal, beautiful gesture of respect. Whatever country you go to, wherever you are in the world, if you do this, it means something of like paying respect to someone, honoring someone. Sometimes it's also like incorporated like in a greeting, in Thailand or in India, we can use it as a greeting. But also, even in the greeting, it's a beautiful gesture of respect. So we begin with our hands in Anjali Mudra, and then we always recite the invocation, hopefully. If not, we listen to someone else reciting the invocation, right? So in the first sloka, Vande Gururam Charanara Vende, we interpreted that last week. What was that? Yeah, nice, Tess. So I bow to the feet of the Guru, the lotus feet of the Guru, which we interpreted last week as meaning sort of the unveiling of the literal translation for all of us is more about respecting the practice and wanting to get some of the energy, get some of the goodness from the teachings, to take that in. And then as we go on, it talks about samsara, hala hala. What's that? What's the hala hala? What's the hala hala? Is it like that? No. Not. What is it? Someone said it. What's the hala hala? Poison. This is not good stuff. So then we talk about the Jangali Kaya Mane. What's that? The jungle physician. So that first sloka for us, Vande Gururam Charanara Vende Sandra Shitas Vatmas Dukhava Bode, really for me has to do with this practice being medicine for the poison, right? So the doctor, the jungle physician becomes the medicine for us. From whatever our poison is, right? And again, for me, it's a very personal thing. All of you come to your mats from different places, different times in your life, different experiences. So maybe the poisons are a little bit different, but we come here for some health and for some vibrancy and for some healing. And then the second part of the sloka, or the second sloka, is about what? Patanjali. So the second part, we're honoring his sutras, and that the sutras being written were the way that all of us really came to yoga. It's where our roots come from, the Yoga Sutra. So the second one is just a beautiful poetic honoring and respecting of Patanjali. So we say, when we do the invocation, we invoke something, right? I love to break down words sometimes, a little bit about languaging, because just to say we're going to recite the yoga mantra, to me is very different from saying we're going to recite the invocation, because the invocation insinuates that we're invoking something. So what do you think of when you think of invoking? Harry Potter? The cauldron?
Inviting.
Yeah, I love that. Inviting. What would you be inviting? If you're reciting something, what would you be inviting in the invocation?
The gifts of the practice, the energy of the practice.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, I don't know, for you, all of that. So some of you know this, but I grew up in the Catholic tradition. And so in the Catholic tradition, there's a very beautiful liturgy that's recited every week, and you memorize it. You might get your books out, but otherwise, year after year, you memorize the liturgy, and you stand up, you sit down, you kneel down, but you recite these prayers, or invocations, if you will. And what I noticed even at a younger age is that sometimes people seem to just be going blah, 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 right? And that can happen with anything. The invocation can be the same. You can be like really proud of yourself because you finally memorized it. Or like, how there's a song that you like, but you really only know a few lines to it, so you blurt out the lines that you know, like Vande Gurudam, and then Sandara Shita, and right? And that's, it is like learning it is part of the tradition, it's part of the respect, and it's part of our dedication to it that we finally learn the invocation. But even so, even if you've learned it, you can belt it out, Why? What does it mean to you? For me, I want every part of the practice to hold some meaning for you. So, I was talking with someone about this yesterday, and we were saying, if you're doing a yoga pose, but the yoga pose is hurting your body in some way, it doesn't make any sense to do it, So we have to either modify or look at switching up your practice. So every time you do something in yoga, we should always ask this question of how is this serving me? I always say we don't serve asana, the asana serves us. But I come back to even thinking that with the invocation, how does beginning this way serve us? For me, one way that it serves me is like the lineage we've talked about. It just always begins with respect, which I think is so beautifully woven into the fiber of the practice. But it also, for me, it makes me get present. Because let's face it, we've all come from school, from work, maybe in traffic, and maybe you have a bunch of things to do tonight. You've got to cook for someone tonight. You've got to take care of your kids or your dogs or whatever. So this 1 hour is very precious, and it is for us that we're here. So for me, when I put my hands together and I recite the invocation, I really try to get everything else off the mat and really kind of dedicate this 1 hour to taking in the medicine, opening my heart up to the gifts, like Tamara said, of the energy of the practice. So one of the things I'm going to ask you guys to do this week is to consider what the invocation means to you. It's sort of a beautiful thing. Pattabhi Jois used to, we would do a call out and repeat with Pattabhi Jois to recite the invocation. And at the end, he would always say this little prayer afterwards, or something that he would say to himself. And I just remember one time in conference, someone asked Sharat what Pattabhi Jois was saying, because he would say it very softly too after we said the invocation. And at this time, I'm not sure if the answer has changed, but at the time Sharat said that it was very personal. And I liked that. I liked thinking that Pattabhi Jois had something to add to it, for himself or what he was giving us. So I always think that for myself, like when I do the invocation, I always kind of end with what I want to receive from the invocation. Maybe may my heart be open to the practice today, or may I receive the blessings of the practice. So just encouraging you guys to really, this practice is your practice. That's the great thing about Ashtanga. Once you've come onto the mat, it really is personal. It belongs to you. So I feel like the invocation should be the same for us, that we take on some meaning in that, and when we recite it, that we have maybe some little thing that you say at the end that brings it brings it home for you. So I'll finish with, I have 2 quotes for you guys this week. The first one is a favorite that Guruji was known for saying this, and actually this came from the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, but Pattabhi Joy sort of had his own interpretation of it that was always funny to all of us. Anyone can practice. Young man can practice, old man can practice, very old man can practice. Man who is sick, he can practice. Man who doesn't have strength can practice, except lazy people. Lazy people can't practice Ashtanga yoga, and that is true. The second quote is by Vanda Scarvelli. In the beginning, you have to make room for your yoga practice in your daily life and give it a place it deserves. But after some time, yoga itself will pull you up by your hair and make you do it. Hopefully we'll get to that place at some point. As always, I honor each one of you.